Stupid Garbage Podcast.
Oh, I like that.
Jessica.
Yes. I'm going to take out my teeth.
Yeah, go ahead. Jessica's geriatric.
You always want to do a Minisode in bed after my teeth are in and I'm all cozy.
The cozy... What sort of physical activity does the podcast require of you that being in bed... No, forget it. I don't care. I was watching this Rush documentary today.
Rush?
Yeah,
like the band?
Like the band.
Oh, with
precisely,
my dad?
Yeah, precisely
Okay.
like the band. Your brother and your dad started watching it when I was not there or was
I remember that.
the other room. And then because you and your mother went upstairs to clean, I thought, I guess this is what I'm doing now. So I just sat on I wasn't even watching it. I was zoning out. And I wasn't even on my phone either. I was just staring off into space because it was so... First of all, it's really uninteresting. Rush is not a big enough band, I don't think, to necessitate this sort of microscope. If you're really interested in Rush, you can, if you're a groupie, then you know all this shit, obviously. You know YYZ and Tom Sawyer and the story behind that. And if you're not, like everyone on the planet, then who the fuck... So... It was peculiar, and the documentary, I think, was really poorly made. There were there were no cuts between one interview and the next. It would just one person would be talking, then the other person would be talking, and be on the screen. It was very, very poorly, which to me makes sense.
Oh, like the interviewer?
No, like the editor. It makes sense to me that this is poorly made because I can't imagine that any good documentary team would be doing this.
Oh, sad.
So
I'm surprised my dad and my brother didn't care.
Well, it was short. I think it was half an hour.
Oh, okay.
And Geddy Lee, who's the lead singer of Rush, first of all, his voice is super weird. And second of all, he's the least interesting man on the planet.
Oh.
And the thing that I had a problem with is they talked about if you're a Rush fan, if you're a weird dude who toured with Rush in the 80s and did a shit ton of acid, and you're obsessed with the band... You'd probably kill yourself, but I get it. I get that you're really into this thing, fine. But the band members talking about this like it was the most important thing on the planet, it's just so self-involved. And I guess if you've been doing these fucking songs...
Rush is a big deal, though. Like, I would agree, I know the band Rush, and I don't really...
Yeah, but it's not a big deal the way Queen or the Beatles or... Elton John or Bob Dylan are a big deal. They're a B-list type of...
Well, I don't think
band.
many people are at the level of, Queen and
right, but if
Elton
you're not...
John.
I would say they're not even the level of the Foo Fighters. They're not even the level... Yeah, Rush, probably not. Because most people know one Rush song, and that's it. And they go, yeah, Tom Sawyer, and that's all anyone knows.
I don't even
of
know
Rush.
that song.
Right, so I think you just know the name Rush, whereas you actually know a little bit about probably the Foo Fighters.
I hate the Foo
U2.
Fighters.
You know more about you. I mean, U2's big.
Okay.
So Rush is, the Beatles. I'll grant you, the Beatles are on their own. The Beatles and Elvis and maybe Sinatra are in their own stratosphere. Maybe Bob Dylan.
The Beatles and Bob Dylan both suck.
Regardless, my point is that this documentary. First of all, this documentary, I think, face value. Someone saying, "Hey, let's make a Rush documentary." I'd say, no, let's not. Yeah. Don't do that. There've got to be better things to do with your time. But you go down this road, fucking fine. It's so goddamn stupid. And the way they talk about their music, they say, "Yeah, I think it was Geddy Lee." One of them said, "Yeah, when we did this big something driving something." Anyway, one of their albums was 20 songs about how they were in space, and it was kind of a rock opera type thing. It was no, not ooh. It was an anthology of stories about how they were in space and how there was this galactic federation and
Stop.
Yeah, it was the gayest shit I've ever heard. And
I
then,
feel like Meatloaf would do that.
So no, Meatloaf is more. First of all, it's not Meatloaf; it's Meatloaf.
It's
Second of all,
Meatball.
He does kind of do those story albums very much so, but his are more about sex and drums and rock and roll than they are about the Space Federation. And I don't know how you could like these songs if you were. And so anyway, yeah, Meatloaf. I was surprised to learn that I think it's Bad Outta Hell or maybe Bad Outta Hell too. I think it's Bad Outta Hell. Right, the album Bad Outta Hell is the 4th or 5th highest selling album of all time.
You've told me this because I hate Meatloaf as well.
Which is just crazy. But anyway, right. So anyway, they were talking about, they said we do the show.
Stop with the noise.
Stop.
I can hear it.
Okay, well, Jessica, what have I told you 1,000 times?
It's distracting to me.
You need to get over it. So, anyway.
Get over you.
You're going to sleep in the car tonight. You're going to sleep on the roof of the car.
It's always
like a bird.
Different.
So anyway.
Like a bird?
Like a goddamn bird.
Sorry, do you think the birds sleep on the roof of my car at night?
That's where birds sleep, on the roof of
cars.
On the roof? Yes.
Okay.
Jessica, come on.
All right.
Go talk to any pigeon in the city.
Okay.
Statues, gutters of buildings, roof of cars.
Okay.
No, so anyway,
but...
Yes, be quiet. So, you're going to sleep in the car. So, they kept talking about how they would do the show where they would do this. Yeah, it was about the Space Federation and the Galactic whatever, and then the Freedom Fighters. It sounded a little like they were just ripping off the story of Star Wars. But it might have predated Star Wars. I don't know. I'm pretty sure this was in the 70s.
Maybe Star Wars is based off of that fucking song.
Maybe. It's not a song. It's an album. It's...
Yeah, well, that's...
So anyway, they were talking about... Stop interrupting me. Yeah. I have one uninteresting point to make. And it's taken me close to 7 minutes to make it.
That's because you ramble, not because
No, man, it's because you keep kicking me off the trail.
No.
Here, I'm going to give you my index finger to suckle on. Like a baby with a little square of meat. You just do that.
What?
Jessica, shush. This is so that you don't talk. So, there you go.
For suckle.
You just keep it in your mouth. This is so you don't talk. Stop trying to talk.
Okay.
So anyway, they were talking about how at the end of the album, they have this big screen come on stage and there's a sun projected on it and it says, "Attention," or something to the effect of, "Attention, the Space Federation is now taking over. Attention, the Space Federation is now assuming control," whatever, something like that. And the way Geddy Lee talked about it, he said, yeah, when that happens, I think it's really a spiritual experience that brings people to a higher level. And that's, first of all, you talked about making this whole album, and you're saying that the pinnacle of it, the zenith of your creative ability, was that you had an announcement at the end of it. The Space Federation is taking control.
Which wasn't...
Please proceed to the exits and leave the stadium. I mean, it's might as well be telling people where the fire exits are.
Yeah, it's not like a musical.
Right, it's not, you're a musician, and that's... It's like, that really took it to the next level. Really? That took it to the next level? That's not even something you could experience on the album.
Part?
You have to go to the shows. Yes, the speaking part and the picture of the sun that you rolled down on a curtain in front of the stage. So it was so stupid. And the way they talked about how important their music was, and every single time... Neil Peart, the drummer and lyricist, and goddamn, because when you hear the most Rush songs, they're very, very busy. Neil Peart's a very excellent drummer. They have good guitars and bass, and they have a lot of weird effects, and they have short delays that make stuff sound like it's coming through some sort of tunnel or something. Okay. So the music is really busy. When you listen to Tom Sawyer, you don't really hear the words. You just hear this going, ooh, okay, because it's a lot of fucking noise. Watching this documentary, the subtitles were on, so when they were singing, I was reading the lyrics to these songs. They're fucking nonsense. They're fucking crazy. They're not just nonsense, they're stupid nonsense. And another one, Geddy Lee said, yeah, that one in Tom Sawyer, that one line that was, getting by on you, the government gets high on you, or something like that. It was a stupid line that I don't remember. Look it up, dear reader. Geddy Lee said, yeah, that one line showed people that we were serious about being lyricists, and it was so stupid. Rush needs to Geddy Lee really needs to get his head out of his own ass. And to reiterate, not only was he a narcissist, which a lot of super famous musicians or whatever are, he was also, so you would think he would have some interesting stories. You would think that the lead vocalist, the lead men of Rush would have interesting stories. Yeah. They do not. They're so boring. Neil Peart was
Well, how much can you fit into 30 minutes?
He couldn't fit anything into 30 seconds. He bored me in 30 seconds. It's not that he couldn't get to stuff. It's that he was talking, and I thought, this is so goddamn uninteresting.
Well, I think if
he just stared at the camera for 45 seconds, it would be more captivating.
If you were a believer, Like, I think you would be really interested. You'd be like, no, yeah, man, that was a spiritual experience. He's totally right.
Well, first of all...
Like, you just were like, this is bullshit. What is he doing?
Well, it wasn't just... I can discern... There are interesting bullshit artists.
Sure, okay.
This was not interesting. And also, first of all, you have to convince people, convert people to your believerism, your fanaticism.
Okay.
And if your music can do it, but if you're doing it with the music, then you don't need this fucking documentary. Like, this documentary must be serving some other purpose. First of all. Second of all. Third of all, it was just so... There would be an interesting, albeit stupid way to say this was a spiritual experience. It was not interesting. Mm-hmm. And it wasn't just the stuff he was saying was stupid. He would set it up with these stories. And there was just... so we were touring in 1974, and I remember when we had taken a break to write this Driving Cars album concept, and it was just me and John just kind of jamming that afternoon because we just felt, we wanted to unwind and have a little jam. And I think Neil was out flying model airplanes or something, taking a break. What the fuck are you talking about?
I mean... I'm bored already, obviously.
Dude, you're talking about Neil Peart being outside flying model airplanes?
Like, what else?
How do you think this is the pertinent part of the story?
What else are they doing? Like, that's all musicians.
They're writing.
I was just hanging out.
The song Tom Sawyer. Okay, but you have to.
Yeah, sure.
Don't
that's
mention.
Super irrelevant.
Yeah, Neil was out getting a coffee, and our producer Chuck had been sick that day. He had actually called in sick the day before because his daughter was sick. And then he got sick that night, and so that morning at like 7, really early, like 7, and we were going to bed at like 4, when we were doing this album. When we were doing this album in the studio, when we did the album in the studio the second time, because the first time we didn't get, because we had the second, no, maybe I'm mixing this up. Okay, so Chuck was sick. I remember Chuck was sick, and he called me really early in the morning. I had gone to bed at like 3:34, and he called me at 7:15, and he knew I was going to bed really late because I had told him a couple of days ago that my throat was a little sore because I think that my bedroom was getting really dry because I was going to bed so late that I was sleeping until noon or so, and so it was getting hot. And so he said that maybe a lozenge would be the way to go. If I dip it, and he didn't even say to take it. He said to put it in a cup of hot water and leave it by my bedside table so that when I wake up, I can drink that and it will have dissolved. And that will help me start the day with, and you know how much I'm singing.
And you need a healthy breakfast, so let me explain to you.
It's the most boring goddamn... You're talking about writing...
That wasn't boring, actually. That was pretty good.
You're talking about writing Tom Sawyer. One of the first of all, the only interesting Rush song. YYZ's a good song, but no one fucking knows that song. Right? It would be like John Lennon talking about writing Imagine, or Paul McCartney talking about writing Let It Be, or Yesterday. And he said, yeah, so John and I were in the studio, and Ringo was... I think
walking the dog?
He went to get his dry cleaning that day, because we told him that we didn't need him because we'd already dubbed the drum tracks and we were going to redo them, but we had to get... No, maybe George was getting his dry cleaning. George was getting his dry cleaning.
Yeah, no,
that's right, because George had gotten a mustard stain on his shirt, and the shirt, his mother had given him that shirt, so we couldn't just buy a new one, as much money as we had. And we did have a lot of money because we had been rather successful. We had actually met with our accountant earlier that week.
God.
So it's so good. You're talking about writing one of the classic songs in
sure.
Western culture, and you mentioned that Neil Peart's outside flying a model airplane.
Look, this dude whatever.
Geddy Lee, just stick to music, because goddamn, when he's not singing in his waifish voice. It's just everything coming out of it. And again, so to reiterate the lyrics, which Neil Peart wrote all of, apparently. I didn't know that. So one interesting thing I learned from this documentary is that Neil Peart was a lyricist of Rush. And even that's not interesting.
Who's Neil Peart?
He's the drummer.
Okay.
He died, I think, last year, maybe the year before.
Oh.
A lot of people say he's the best drummer ever, maybe, or best rock and roll drummer. Anyway,
well, that's kind of like
he
a
wrote
big
the lyrics.
Deal.
Yeah, he wrote the lyrics.
Uh-huh.
He was a great drummer, but god fucking damn, they're lucky that maybe not lucky, but because they had such busy songs with 40 different weird instrumental tracks that were heavily edited. The lyrics could kind of just fly under the radar, and that's a good thing. because they were fucking, at best they were nonsense.
I mean,
at worst they made sense, but they were so goddamn stupid.
That's how I feel about Bob Dylan.
We can, on the next pod, we can read some Rush lyrics. They're so stupid. And we'll read the lyrics of Tom Sawyer. Their biggest song.
I'm telling you though, dude, a lot of these famous, like, quote unquote, like, rock, whatever, I feel like a lot of them have that where the lyrics are just like, what the fuck is going on in the 80s?
When a lot of it was the 70s. For Rush,
Whatever.
when I bring the lyrics up, you'll agree that there is a definitive line between, oh, these lyrics are stupid, and, oh, these lyrics are fucking stupid.
All right, I'm gonna look up some Bob Dylan ones because he just makes me.
Bob Dylan is very. You can do whatever you want. I'm warning you that Bob Dylan is universally recognized as being one of the best lyricists. He won a Nobel Prize.
It doesn't make any sense
for his lyrics. Man, if Bob Dylan wins a Nobel Prize and sells 100 million, you know how he sounds. No one thinks he has a good voice. He's a fine guitar player, but he's not like he's not especially proficient. He's not Eric Clapton or Jimi Hendrix.
But why wasn't he just a writer?
Because he wanted to sing his own songs.
Okay.
And you make 1,000 times more money if you are the guy.
Yeah, but I'd worry. I'd be like, you know.
Fuck it. That's the point. My point is that he was, in spite of not being a gifted musician, he was still maybe the most famous individual singer-songwriter of the second half of the 20th, maybe the 20th century, period. And that's obviously not because of his voice. It's not because of his instrumentals.
Trash.
It's because of his lyrics. His lyrics and his songwriting ability. And he won a Nobel Prize to that effect.
Dumb.
So you might be in the minority.
Whatever.
You can bring his lyrics up, and I'll bring Rush's up, and I promise you'll think Rush's are dumber.
It might be a good contrast to have, like, one of the best lyricists, quote unquote, and then Rush.
Yeah, we'll see.
Yeah.
All right, that's as good a place as any to wrap. We should have stopped like 12 minutes ago, but here we are.
Why is it? Okay.
That's at 16 minutes, but good God.
Well.
All right, see you later, pod racers.
Bye.